Hello and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Um, the purpose of this webinar is to give you an overview of the financial capabilities of Dynamics 365 for finance and operations, or we'll refer to it as F&O as we go through the presentation just for shortness. To give you some of the ideas of the financial capabilities of F&O when dealing with multi-entity organizations and really focusing on some of the functionality that you don't get in older versions of the product, but also some of the newer functionality which has been recently added to the product that enhances its capabilities. My name is George Morton. I'm a senior sales consultant at sa.global, and I'm joined by my colleague Antoine Leblanc, who is the head of finance at sa.global. So what we're going to do just to kick things off is probably a sub 5-minute introduction just to sa.global, anyone that hasn't heard of us before that might benefit from just understanding what we do as a partner. So sa.global, we've been established since 1990, and we've been selling Dynamics actually since the inception of the product set back in the early 2000s. Microsoft acquired a product called Exapta, and Exapta became Dynamics AX, which is now the brand new product, Dynamics 365 for finance and operations. We're still 100% focused on Microsoft Dynamics through all those years of 30 years experience now, as we don't sell any other type of ERP or CRM solution. And we're supporting over 250,000 users across the world on Dynamics. And we're one of 9 vetted ISV centers, so we've got very strong development capabilities to build our own IP or our own software that enhances the capabilities of Microsoft Dynamics for chosen sub-verticals and verticals, such as professional services, project-based organizations, AEC, and legal. So as an organization, we are spread quite globally ourselves. We have 26 offices in 20 countries, and we've got implementation experience in over 80 countries. And the truth be told is that those implementations have come in all different shapes and sizes, from smaller local implementations of the solution to multinational enterprise implementations and some of the very largest deliveries of Dynamics 365 in the world. Which means that we've got a very strong understanding of what businesses go through when they have a multi-entity structure and a multinational structure as well. Now, not only do we deliver these software solutions to our customers, but as an organization, we're also a user of them ourselves. So we went live as one of the very first businesses to go live on F&O, and we use that globally as our finance and project solution. We are also using the sales application and customer service application within CRM to manage sales and our customer service or support desk. And then relatively recently, within the last couple of years, we went live with Dynamics 365 for talent at a global level as well. So not only can we take past learnings from delivering these solutions to customers, but we can also take past learnings from implementing them internally and then pass those on to our customers as well. And then, just not to go into this in too much detail, obviously if it's of interest we can discuss at a later time, but a key component of our delivery methodology for delivering multi-entity or multinational implementations of Dynamics is the global rollout methodology that we developed. Now, the global rollout methodology pivots around what we call the global asset. The global asset is essentially a template company that we deliver, first of all, into a selected geo. And the global asset will contain things like the basic configuration, certain customization, the upgrade and testing strategy, but also the environment strategy as well, which means that we can take this template and we can then deliver that depending on the methodology for go live, such as sequenced or big bang is the other way to put it, to ensure the success for our customers. And it's a critical part of how we deliver the solution to multinational organizations to ensure a success, but also to mitigate risk of those implementations as well. So I hope that was brief enough for you, not too much sales on this Thursday afternoon. I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Antoine, who will take you through the functionality that we'll be demonstrating to you today.
Thank you, George. So, hello everybody, my name is Antoine Leblanc. I am a senior functional consultant with sa.global, and I specialize in finance with Dynamics 365 for finance and operations. So as George just said, sa.global is a specialist in large multi-country or multi-site F&O projects. So today we're going to present you how Dynamics can help your business manage much more efficiently an implementation with multi-companies or multi-entities. So this aspect is really a key feature of F&O and one of its strongest capabilities. It's also fairly new. Those of you who were familiar with the previous versions of what was called Dynamics AX or Axapta at the time, will know that if we take the example of AX 2009, you could already manage many companies or many legal entities in many different countries, but each company was really like in a world of its own, where data sharing across companies was not easy, cross-company reporting was almost impossible or inexistent, and all functionalities were mono company, where basically you had to log into every company one after another to perform any repetitive task like month-end close or posting journals. Then you had to do that separately. Microsoft started adding these cross-company features to AX 2012, the previous version of the product, and even more in F&O, which is the actual version of the product. So this is what we're going to show you today. So let's start with looking at some of these cross-company capabilities. We will look at organization level capabilities. We'll then move on to purely financial features, allowing for something we call a shared service model. We look at these data sharing capabilities, which allow you to easily share things like customers, vendors, products. We will, of course, look at consolidated reporting because it's very important to be able to aggregate data at a global level for you. And we will finally discuss how, from a project perspective, F&O can help you quickly roll out new companies or new geographies using something we call data management. So we will get to all this. So F&O allows you to create and maintain as many legal entities as you want in many different countries and languages. This is something we call localization, as Microsoft does not only provide translation, multilingual translation of screens, reports, and documentation, but also more crucially provides country-specific features to meet the legal requirements of the countries F&O is localized for. So these country-specific features can be specific accounting rules, VAT methods, fixed asset depreciation methods, legally required reports or data extracts, specific electronic formats for the authorities or bank communication, etc., etc. This map shows you some of the 40 plus countries F&O is localized for. So as you can see, it's a very, very wide international scope. But this worldwide localization is not new. It's been there in AX for many AX or F&O versions. What is new is the capability of organizing your legal entities in something we call organizational hierarchies, like the ones we see here. So basically, you can organize your legal entities by any dimension, like business unit, by market, or more traditionally by geographies. And these hierarchies can be used for different purposes, as we see here. So you can use that for consolidation, for reporting, and even to define security. And that's the example we're going to take today. If we move to this example of a region based structure where, as you can see, my company is organized by continent. My level here is EMEA, North America, Latin America, and underneath these continents I have different countries, France, UK, and Germany. And then drilling down, you see that per country, you can organize your companies. Now, the interest of that is that if we take the example of security, then you can define security for a user of a group or group of users and map it to any of the levels of this hierarchy. So typically, for example, you can have your region CFOs mapped to the region, the continent node, where security will be inherited for that node and all the countries below it, and companies below it, when an accounting manager role, for example, could be mapped only to the country node. And of course, these organizations can evolve through time. And when you do that, then security gets automatically updated following these changes, meaning if you add new countries, new companies to a country, or if you move a country from one region to another, then the security mapped to this hierarchy will automatically follow and be updated. So it's a good example of how F&O allows you to maintain company structure at group level, but let it drive various components of your financial system, like in our case here, security. So moving on to multi-entity features now. So we're going to discuss how these functionalities, which used to be only possible at company level, can now be performed for multiple companies at the same time. So of course, a lot quicker and a lot more efficiently. So we will see how, for example, periods can be closed for all companies in one screen, or how you can enter and post global journals, how you can pay your vendors centrally, etc., etc. So let's start with the example of the chart of accounts maintenance. This chart of accounts can now be maintained at system level when previously they could only be maintained at company level, so at a very, very low level. What you can do now is create multiple chart of accounts at system level, at organization level, and decide which companies are going to use any of these chart of accounts. So generally, you will want to use only one shared chart of accounts that all your companies are going to use for ease of maintenance. But F&O still gives you a lot of flexibility around this. So even though your chart of accounts will be shared and all accounts will be common to all companies, then you will still have the capability to give your companies some specific properties. So if we look at the example here, I have my shared chart of accounts here with my accounts receivable account, which is going to be a global account. Yet if you look at the legal entity override section here, we see that per company within this group, we can give some specific properties. So typically I can say, okay, for this company GBSI, then I want to suspend this account, or I can only activate it from next month onwards. So this shows you how, even though your chart of account is going to be maintained globally and centrally, you still have the possibility to give fine level, company level specificities and properties to your records, your account in this case. And for multilingual organizations, and you can even maintain translations for your account. So again, my example of a accounts receivable, the name of the account is in English, but you can maintain translations in all the languages you want. So in this case of a French translation, then my accounts receivable account is translated by this centralisateur. So this can be very useful for a company who wants to deploy F&O internationally and will probably want to use the same chart of account in all countries to facilitate the reporting, the control, and the setup. This gets a little bit complex in countries where a specific chart of account is required by law, like France, Germany, Spain, China. There's many examples where you cannot use the chart of accounts you want. So F&O has another very strong capability to meet this requirement. As we saw before, you can maintain multiple chart of accounts in your system. And what you can do is map a group chart of accounts, which you will probably use for all your companies, to a local chart of accounts in some of the companies where it's required. And by putting this mapping in place, you make sure every single transaction for these countries gets, in fact, 2 accounts in each transaction, the group chart of accounts and the local chart of accounts. And this gives huge flexibility in the sense that you can now report for these countries your accounting transactions in the chart of accounts you want. You can do your reporting in the group chart of accounts for group reporting purposes, but also in the local chart of accounts for your local requirements. So this is a very, very powerful feature of FNO that we as sa.global deploy for pretty much all of our international customers, and something we can give you more detail as we have a lot of practice around that. So don't hesitate to contact us if you want more information about this, and maybe we'll organize another webinar about this. Now we move on to the next topic, the shared dimensions. It's really the same concept as the chart of accounts. Basically, you are going to define your dimensions at system level. Here you can see a few examples of the standard dimensions FNO is shipped with, even though you can create your own custom dimension, of course. So here we see business unit, cost center, department, etc. So these are created at system level. The values are also created at system level, but very much like the accounts before, you can give some legal entity properties. So typically here, my business unit number 1, home, is created centrally and available for all my legal entities. Yet through the legal entity override section here, I have the ability to say, in this very case, give a business unit owner different business unit owners depending on the company. So my business unit 1 is owned by user number 3 in Germany and number 1 in GLMF. So it's a small example here, but again, to illustrate the fact that these data are going to be maintained at system level, so to facilitate the maintenance of these records, yet you have a lot of flexibility at company level to give it some specific properties. So this is also true for daily or monthly activities, such as period close or journal posting. So we're going to take a look at a few of them, starting with the period close. So in the past, in previous versions, and also with other financial systems, if you had to maintain 20 legal entities, and in the case of financial period close, you had to close a month for 20 companies, then you had to, first of all, switch from one company to another to see whether the period is closed or not. And when you want to close them, you again have to log in and out of your 20 companies to close your periods. With finance and operations, you don't need to do that anymore. So here we're looking at the financial period close screen. And here I'm looking at my year 2020 and my period 2 for February. So let's assume it's early March and I want to close my period number 2 for my companies. So that screen, first of all, shows me in one glimpse of an eye that all my period 2s are open in all my legal entities. Just this status screen shows me everything. If I decide to close them all, I can simply select all my companies. I might want to untick 1 or 2 because they are late with their closing. So I'll untick these 2, then click on update period status and change the status to on hold for all these companies. So you see a process which would have taken probably 10 or 15 minutes in a mono company system, then really takes a few seconds here. So a good illustration of this concept of cross-company features I've been discussing since the beginning. Since we're on the subject of period close, let's take a look at another very powerful feature which illustrates the concept of workspaces and another interesting cross-company feature. Every accounting manager knows the pains of organizing the month-end close and keeping track of its status to meet deadlines. F&O gives you a central workspace to manage this process very quickly and very efficiently across all your companies. So let's take a look at that. From my homepage here, I can navigate to my financial period close workspace. And first of all, I need to set up and organize my month end, which is basically going to require listing all the tasks that you need to perform. So you group them by area, by module. So you will have your accounts receivable task, your accounts payable, your general ledger task, etc., etc., etc. Then you list them all. So if you look at the first examples here, you will need in the AR module, you will need to finalize the billing, post the journals, verify the aging, etc. So you list your tasks, you give them a relative due date, you order them in the order they should happen, in the due date they should happen, and you link them to a closing role, which is the role which is going to perform the task, and list the companies you will need to do this for. So there will probably be all your companies. Once you have organized all your tasks, then you are going to define what we call closing roles, which is attaching resources to roles. So we see here that Arnie is going to be the AR payments clerk in all the companies. When the next user, Connie, will be a collections agent in these companies, etc., etc. So basically you define your closing team and you give them roles, which can be global for all companies or per company. You can have collection agent for some companies and another collection agent for other companies. Once this setup is done, and it's done once and for all, at month end, you're going to create a new schedule for your previous month, probably, if you want to close the period of March. Once you do that, then Dynamics is going to create all the tasks, distribute them to the relevant users based on everyone's role, as we saw before, and give them due dates. So basically, this distributes and organizes the tasks for everyone. Then each user can now go to his or her financial period close workspace and look at their tasks. So if I look at my workspace here, I see that I have 3 tasks to perform. I can click on that. This tells me that these are my 3 tasks. These are the due dates for these tasks. And you see that they are cross-company because one is in one company and the 2 others are in other companies. These tasks have hypertext links, so I can navigate very quickly to the screen I need to perform these different tasks. And you can also attach documents, template attachments to justify how and when you have done each task. Once this is done, then you can go and mark these tasks as completed. And when everyone has done that, this updates the central workspace for the CFO or the accounting manager or whoever is in charge of the reviewing the month-end close. And this person can then follow the status of the closing for each company. So we see here that first company is 1/3 complete, same for this one, same for this one, and this one is a bit behind. So the CFO can very easily click on any of these companies to see the detail of the task, the status of the task, see who is late and who isn't, what has been done and what has not been done. And here you see through the Microsoft Teams integration, you can even contact very easily every responsible here, either by email or by phone or by Teams chat. So this financial period close workspace is a very good way to globally keep track of your closing process, whether it's your month-end close or your quarterly close or your year-end close, to meet deadlines and make sure these deadlines are reached and met. So quickly, let's take a look at some simpler functionalities, some I've mentioned before. This one is probably the easiest to understand. It's a global journals screen where, again, in previous versions, if you had, for example, at month end to post your accruals and provisions, you would have had to go to your 20 companies to book your 20 journals, when here, regardless of the company you are in my case here in my USSI company, then I see different companies here, meaning that from this screen, I can create and post journals in all my companies without having to switch from one to the other. Yes. Of course, providing you have the right security and you are allowed to connect to these companies. Same example here for the fixed assets module. Instead of having to create fixed asset depreciations in each company, then you can now do this globally through this depreciation proposal, which is going to calculate the fixed asset depreciation in all your companies, distribute the journals in all your companies, and even post your journals if you want to from one screen here. And this applies to a lot more features, like you also have global revaluation for your AR, AP, and GL, global bank reconciliation, etc. Most of these repetitive tasks which used to require going from one company to another, now can be done globally. If we look at a slightly more advanced feature here, which we call AP centralized payments. So basically, through the hierarchies we mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, you can define a centralized payment hierarchy, which basically is going to allow you to nominate one of your companies and one bank account in this company to be the company where all vendor invoices are going to be paid. So you still enter your AP invoices in each relevant company, but when payment proposal time comes, then you can run your payment proposal from your centralized payment company, and payments are going to be created and distributed automatically from one bank account, but onto all your companies holding vendor invoices. So of course, in the background, F&O will take care of all the intercompany transactions, the due from and due to transactions, and all settlements between open vendor invoices and the payments, yet you still have the ability to do the payment from one company and one bank account. So it's a very good way for large organizations to kind of streamline the payment process and, of course, minimize bank charges and financial costs. On the same note, moving on to other intercompany accounting features, F&O also offers many capabilities around intercompany accounting, from very simple intercompany general ledger journals to more advanced distribution scenarios around sales order to purchase order, where basically you can create a sales order in one company, an intercompany sales order, and that's going to automatically create the pending purchase order in your selling company, link the two, and automate the process fully, meaning when you raise a sales invoice against a sales order, it can raise the purchase invoice against the purchase order in the selling company. And of course, again, that F&O takes care of all the intercompany distribution and settlements. Also for the service industries, which is an area where sa.global specializes in, then F&O offers very advanced intercompany features around the project accounting and the project module. We see the diagram here, where basically if you manage projects, then you can create the project only in the contract owning entity, which is the legal entity which has signed the contract, the project with the customer. But if you employ resources from other companies or other countries, which we call resource lending entities, then these people don't have to worry about the company where the project is created, and you don't even have to create the projects in the resource lending entities. The project stays in the contract owning entity, and resources can book timesheet and expense, intercompany timesheet and expense, directly from their company into the contract owning entity without having to recreate the projects in each company. So it's a very good way to maintain intercompany projects very efficiently, and it's something internally at sa.global we use extensively. Okay, so let's now move on to other cross-company features, starting with data sharing. So for large multi-entity customers, it's very useful to be able to maintain a kind of central repository of data, like customers and vendors and products, and be able to release this data per company instead of having to recreate them each and every time you need them in a company. So we're going to see how F&O helps you that with pastor data like the ones we see here, customers, vendors, and products. So this slide here shows us something we call the global address book, which is a component of F&O where you're going to store and create all your parties. We call them parties, either physical person or organizations, which are master data records you're going to create at system level and then release as something we call the party role within the company. So these party roles can be customers, vendors, workers, prospects, etc. And they are company specific. So it's probably easier to understand from a real life example here. So in this case here, I have created a party called Active Transport Inc. at system level. I have entered some addresses. You can maintain multiple addresses and multiple contact information. What is important is that at system level, this is created centrally and only once. And when you need this in one of your companies, you're going to release it as a role into this company. So typically, this company Active Transport Inc. is available globally in my system and then released as a customer in my USMF company, also a customer in another company, USSI, and a vendor in the USSI company as well. So instead of having to create this company 3 times, because you need it 3 times in your system, you only create it once and release it as many times as you want. The interest of that is that it's of course a lot quicker to create, but it's also much more efficient to manage and maintain, because anything, any address or any contact information you're going to change will automatically be replicated and inherited in the different companies here, instead of having to keep them in sync 3 times. But again, with the example of accounts and dimensions we discussed before, you still have the ability to maintain some company-specific information, like maybe VAT information, where the VAT calculation might be different from one country to another, or bank details that you might want to be different. But the key high-level details like address and contact information are stored at system level, shared and synced in a way. So if we move on to the product information management section, it's exactly the same concept, where products are going to be created centrally at system level. And this is what we see here. We have a long list of products that I have in my system at system level, but you can use the release products button here to decide which of these products can be released in that company. So this is a central list. I can click on release products. I can choose which products I want to release and click OK to immediately have them created in the company I'm in. So again, a good way to manage these data centrally, yet release them at company level, company levels very quickly and efficiently. Okay, moving on to the reporting section now, and of course the cross-company reporting. So there's essentially 3 reporting tools available with F&O. We'll focus on the first 2. Financial Report Writer, which used to be called Management Reporter, for those of you who are familiar with Management Reporter in the previous versions, is your financial reporting tool, which you can use for financial reporting and consolidation. And Power BI is the new product you probably have heard a lot recently, which delivers business intelligence and analysis capabilities to F&O. So both of these, Excel is the Excel integration for reporting. All these products allows for cross-company reporting, again, something which was difficult in the previous versions of Dynamics, and which are now fully available in standard. So if we start with Power BI, which is the business intelligence and analysis tool for F&O, Power BI ships with F&O with about 20 predefined dashboards. So we're going to take a look at 2 of them to give you an example of what they do, starting with the purchase spend analysis dashboard, something, as you can see, which allows you to analyze your total purchase per various dimensions, like your top vendors, your vendor groups, your products, your product groups. You can analyze by period, by location, etc., etc. So everything you would expect from a BI dashboard. The particularity here is that sticking to the theme of this webinar, this is of course fully cross-company or multi-company consolidated and aggregated. So when you look at it from a high-level view, you see all your numbers fully consolidated and aggregated in the currency you want. So you still have the ability, of course, to drill down and narrow down to a region, a country, or a company, or even a lower level. But at first glance, the dashboard you see is cross-company. Every single of these predefined dashboards, or any dashboard you will want to create yourself with Power BI, will be or can be cross-company and aggregated. The second example is probably even easier to understand. It's a cross-company bank balance dashboard, which allows you, if you have multiple companies and multiple bank accounts, to view all your bank account balances in their own currency or in the common currency of your choice in only one screen. So it gives you a good idea on your global cash position and give you the possibility to do some cash forecasting. So these are just a few examples of all the dashboards provided by Microsoft. So they are all cross-company. And since they are based on Power BI, they are all live, actionable, and clickable, and usable on any device, including mobile phones and tablets. Let's move to the second reporting tool, Financial Report Writer or Management Reporter. So Financial Reporter is a very advanced yet very easy to use reporting tool, which allows you to create powerful financial statements such as balance sheet and income statement, always analytical balance sheet and income statements. The very good thing with this reporting tool is it's very easy to use. You don't need any IT professionals or developers to build your reports. It's really a tool designed for your finance team, and they should all be able to build the financial reports themselves. F&O also offers a full consolidation module, which is going to let you consolidate your companies at different levels in different currencies, including things like minority interest, eliminations, etc. Now, the combination of the two, the Financial Report Writer and the Consolidation module, allow you to create very interesting reports like this one. So I guess it's probably better to take a look at this report closely. It's a balance sheet and income statement report, so a kind of financial reporting pack. It's consolidated. As you can see, you have 2 columns consolidating your US legal entities and your UK legal entities, converting everything in US dollars. So of course, converting into one unique currency, which can be the currency of your choice. What is very interesting is that this report is fully actionable with complete drill down capability. So in a few clicks, I am going to be able to drill down from this worldwide global financial statement down to, so if I want to take a look at this sales figure here, $1.3 million for the US, I can click on this number to drill down to the breakdown of accounts making up that 1.3 million. And if I want to see the detail of one account, I can click on any number to see the detail of the transactions. And from any transaction, I can even This is a sales account, so these are sales invoices. If I want to see the sales invoice itself, I can simply click on original document, and this displays the invoice itself. So you can see in a few clicks, you can come down from a worldwide global consolidated financial statement down to a unique document giving you the exact information you need and illustrating very well the full cross-company and consolidation features that F&O offers. Okay, moving on to the final topic now. Let's now see how F&O can help you deploy a global project efficiently. So in a multi-company implementation, creating many and almost identical companies can be very time consuming if you have to recreate these companies each and every time. So F&O data management module allows you to easily select the tables or the data entities you want to copy from one company to another. And Microsoft even delivers what we call templates, predefined templates, to help you choose and organize the tables and the data entities you need to include to copy a full company or the setup of the data for just one module. So by doing that, you will be able, as this diagram shows, to create, first of all, a master template company, which will store your core setup. Then use the copy company to create country-specific templates, which you will be able to kind of personalize with a local country-specific setup like VAT or fixed asset rules or sort of things. And then once you've done that, you can use the country-specific template to create your own companies. Typically, if we take a real example here, you're going to maintain your core setup in this company, duplicate it into maybe a French and a UK specific template, set up the French template with the French specific configuration, and then use the copy company to create all the French legal entities you're going to need for your daily transactions. So this allows you to roll out to new companies very quickly and safely, because you can be certain the setup is correct and identical in all companies, yet be able to do that very quickly and very efficiently. So this brings us to the end of the presentation. I let George recap what we have covered. George, over to you.
Thank you very much, Antoine. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending the webinar, especially during these difficult times globally. Hopefully you found it insightful, and we've given you some information about the capabilities of F&O when it comes to multinational, multi-entity organizations requiring that level of capability and functionality. If there's anything else that you'd like to understand or learn more about, then please do get in touch with us and we'll be more than happy to help. But I guess just to sign things off, everyone take care and be safe. Thank you very much indeed.